Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this wonderful Tuesday morning, August 13th. This is JP Dorval, Manager of Legislative Affairs and Administrative Services at Prevention Action Alliance. And unfortunately, Marcy is not able to participate in the webinar today. So this webinar will be relatively quick. Any questions that you guys have regarding the medical marijuana program, I ask that you please email me or Marcy. My email is jpdorval@preventionactionalliance.org, and Marcy's is mseidel@preventionactionalliance.org. So I will run through her slides, but I don't have the specifics of what's happening in the medical marijuana program. So any questions regarding that, please email Marcy. All right, so let's get started. So since last we spoke, the biennial budget was still in the General Assembly. However, since the last webinar, the biennial budget did pass, and we are happy to report that the $36 million prevention funding was fully restored. That was the funding for the stigma reduction campaigns, $18 million for that, and then another $18 million for the K through 12 prevention initiatives. All that funding was reinstated in full, and we have a lot of people to thank for that. And if you were involved at the grassroots level, calling your legislator, ask them to get involved, sending letters and things like that, we thank you. But on our end, people that we want to thank include Mylan Karna, Jody Salvo, Kyle Clark, Mary Wolf, Carrie Metzger, Tyler Begley here at PAA, and Marcy Seidel, obviously, here at PAA. A lot of these individuals are part of our Ohio Prevention Advocacy Network or affiliated with one of our networks, and they were pivotal to getting that money reinstated into the budget. So we are happy about that. Additionally, there was also Tobacco 21 language within the biennial budget. I believe they added a 10% vaping tax, and there's also a new licensure for vape sales. So any additional information that you need regarding that, just feel free to email me. I can send you a document laying all that out. So one thing that I do want to discuss with you all today is the Student Wellness and Success Funding. And even though this does not directly apply to prevention, this is very important to the behavioral health field. So I just wanted to alert you guys as to what's happening with that. So in the budget, there was $675 million allocated to the Student Wellness and Success Funding. And this funding is a pool of money that will be dished out to schools throughout the state in order to help them in implementing or help them with implementing these 12 uses or these 12 curriculums, programs, however you want to call it. So it's $675 million dispersed amongst, I think, 600 schools about. And I heard yesterday from a few individuals that that money either has been already dispersed or is in the process of being dispersed very soon. And it's the Ohio Department of Education that's responsible for dispersing these funds. So this appropriation can only be used for the following list: mental health services, services for homeless youth, services for child welfare involved youth, community liaisons, physical health care services, mentoring programs, family engagement support services, City Connects programs, professional development regarding the provision of trauma-informed care, and you guys can read the rest. The reason why I bring this up is because there are not guardrails or parameters surrounding this funding that really can make sure that this funding is used in the most appropriate fashion by the schools. The only thing that I believe is included with this funding is that the Ohio Department of Education needs to review how these schools have used the money annually. And this is obviously a 2-year funding stream. So within that year, there is not anyone responsible, at least as of right now, with holding these schools accountable to make sure that they use this funding properly. So I would like to bring this up to you guys because you guys are on the ground. You guys know your school districts. Some of you may have kids in school or have had kids in school. And we ask here at Prevention Action Alliance, if you reach out to your school districts to ask what do they plan to do with this funding. Now, the funding is not a lot once it's split up. And there is a formula that accounts for marginalized groups and poverty levels and stuff like that. But we ask that you guys, since you guys are on the ground level, we ask that you go to your schools, ask them how they're using this money, and ask them to publicize their plan on how they will use this money, just to make sure that this money is actually being put to good use, as opposed to filling in little funding gaps for those school districts that are suffering financially. So that's just something that we want to alert you guys to. If you need any more information about that, just let me know. All right, so this one is another one that is another topic that really came to light over the last week. Ohio lawmakers accidentally legalized marijuana. So with the passing of the hemp bill, and the hemp bill did pass, I believe it passed July 30th, or was signed into law July 30th. A lot of cities and a lot of police departments throughout the state are now grappling with the fact that they have to somehow find a way to differentiate on the spot between illegal marijuana and hemp. And as we all know, hemp and marijuana do look extremely similar. The only difference really is the amount of THC in them. Hemp has lower THC content when compared to marijuana. So the city of Columbus stated that they will no longer be prosecuting misdemeanor marijuana cases, and they're going to drop any pending cases that they currently have, which means that essentially the hemp bill de facto legalized the use of marijuana, at least for the short term. The Attorney General's office released a statement, I believe, a couple weeks ago, saying that the state is going to work to update its technology and update the training of the police departments and the city attorneys, just to make sure that they have the skill set and the tech needed to start prosecuting these cases again. However, in the meantime, while they get their BCI labs up to date and things like that, none of these cases will be processed. So essentially, because of that, there's a lot of complication when it comes to probable cause. Nathan Kratz, our communications person, told me yesterday that they had to stop the dog sniffing units for marijuana, only because the dogs who are trained to sniff out that drug also have an issue with differentiating between marijuana, medical marijuana, and hemp. So they had to stop that completely. So we at Prevention Action Alliance are waiting to see how this affects use on the local level. And I know this is a concern for a lot of people. So if you have any concerns, or if you see anything or hear anything, just let us know. But as of right now, on a city-to-city basis, we're seeing that attorneys and the police departments are choosing to step away from that until we have a more robust detection system in the state. So that's a pretty big problem. So, and continuing on that thought, this definitely could be something that the cannabis industry kind of build upon as they try to make their case for recreational. So that's just something that we need to keep an eye on. But once again, if you hear anything on the ground, just let us know. Now, I'll quickly run through Marcy's medical marijuana slides. Again, I don't have the specifics of it, but I will put the slides up and we'll read them. And if you guys have any questions, just make sure to email us. So I believe this is the last marijuana program update that she sent me. Cultivators increased by 1. Provincial licenses are the same, and dispensaries increased by 7. And because of this new issue that the hemp bill provides, I personally believe that we'll see a decrease in the rate that the medical marijuana program is growing, only because now, because of this de facto legalization, we might see more individuals choosing to go to the black market as opposed to trying to enter this medical marijuana program when they are trying to procure their marijuana. So that's just something to note. Here are the medical marijuana sales figures. Um, and again, if you have any questions about that, just let me know. Here are the numbers of caregivers as of 7/31/2019. So today was an extremely short webinar. We have a lot of things in the works here at PAA. So, and because the General Assembly is currently in break and they won't be back until October, there isn't really much to report on. However, I will wait for about 5 minutes to see if any questions roll in. So if you have any questions about the de facto legalization, if you have any questions about the $675 million for student wellness funding or anything else legislative, just let me know. Once again, anything regarding the medical marijuana control program, please email that to us and we'll try to get an answer to you by the end of today, or the end of the day today or tomorrow. All right, I do see we have a question about the student wellness funding. Were all public schools funded through ODE student wellness? If not, how do we obtain a list of schools funded? I believe all public schools were funded through this, and they were funded at different levels depending on how they fit into the formula that was in the biennial budget. Um, when it comes to obtaining a list, ODE would have it, so the Ohio Department of Education would have that. However, I can try to see if I can grab that list for you, because I'm also curious as to the funding levels and which schools received what. But yes, I do believe that all public schools were funded through this wellness fund. And if anyone else wants that information, I see we have another individual who asked that I emailed it to them. Just put your emails in the question slot, and I will try to get it to you once I receive it from the Department of Education. I plan to call them at some point today just to see if I can get that list. So once again, if you're interested in seeing um, which schools receive the funding, I don't know if we can get the levels of funding, but if you want to see which schools receive funding, and if any of those schools are in your area, please send me your email through the question box. Thank you. I'll try to get it all to you as soon as I get it. Alrighty, I have all your emails down. I did see that one individual submitted a link. Unfortunately, I can't access that link through the questions box. And I think this might be what we're all looking for. So once I close the webinar, I'll take a look at that just to see if this is what everyone's looking for. And if so, I'll email the link out. So thank you, Justina, for that. Other than that, if there are no other questions, we should be good to go. And one person did say that the list should be available in the local newspaper. So keep an eye out on that. But that being said, I will try to get all that information to you guys. Thank you.